Cardano founder Charles Hoskinson. Leios will bring Solana-style speeds with full decentralization. In an interview on the Wolf of Wall Street's podcast, Cardano founder Charles Hoskinson revealed new details about Cardano's next major scalability upgrade, Leios, positioning it as a game-changing protocol enhancement designed to deliver Solana-style speed without sacrificing the project's core commitments to decentralization and resilience. That means it's not going to pause. It's going to give us Solana-style speed, but with full decentralization and no stalls, said Hoskinson, drawing a deliberate contrast to Solana's performance profile, which has delivered industry-leading throughput at the cost of periodic network failures and validator centralization concerns. I'll go down here. Charles says down here, he says, it's not just about throughput, it's about throughput under constraint, Hoskinson emphasized. You can have all the transactions per second in the world, but if it only works when a few people are running everything on Amazon Web Services, that's not decentralization. We wanted to do it right. Hoskinson used this contrast to position Cardano as a more resilient, decentralized alternative. No stalls, he said pointedly. Cardano has been running for nearly 7 years, 24/7, without a minute of downtime. That's not an accident because we took the time to build it properly from the ground up. Guys, earlier this year, I don't know if you remember this, people were, touting SWI, and I like SWI, by the way. But people were touting SWI, and one of the big, selling points was zero downtime.
Because Solana always has downtime.
And shout out to GJ. Thanks for joining us again. That's 2 nights in a row in the comments. Welcome to the Brew Crew, the most hydrated crypto hodlers on YouTube. So, guys, the thing is, I like SWI. I'm holding SWI. It's going to do well. And the technology is amazing. It really is. The thing is, people were saying no downtime, no downtime, no downtime. And as they were saying that, I thought to myself, this feels like we're counting our chickens before they hatch. And sure enough, what ended up happening was there was a big story that came out about SWI pausing. And Cardano, on the other hand, has been 7 years, no downtime. And where's this other Hoskinson quote? We're best in class for many different approaches. We predicted UTXO DeFi. What that means, if you don't know, is that uses the same transaction model as Bitcoin. And he says, we predicted UTXO DeFi, and suddenly Bitcoin DeFi is becoming a thing. We're the first system to build that infrastructure. We're going to be a great layer for Bitcoin DeFi, Hoskinson said. And Cardano's architecture opens the door for the blockchain to become a central liquidity and execution hub for Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, and other UTXO-based assets, an ecosystem that collectively has more market cap and liquidity than Ethereum and Solana combined. Cardano has a great chance to become the nexus of the entire UTXO DeFi ecosystem, Hoskinson said. And once Bitcoin DeFi turns on, and it will, ETFs, institutions, and hundreds of millions of users will follow. Guys, this line is getting me so hyped right now. Like, do we understand, all of these chains that have a UTXO transaction model, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Dogecoin? I know I just kind of shat on Litecoin the other day.
I think you said it belonged in that cemetery.
Yeah. But could you imagine using Doge, on Cardano DeFi?
It will happen.
Being able to lend and borrow your in a decentralized fashion, because Doge doesn't have any smart contract, right? Same thing with Bitcoin, really. Imagine, being able to use your Bitcoin in yield farming and liquidity pools, and being able to stake your Bitcoin, not directly the way you stake your Cardano by delegating it to an SPO, but I mean, in a liquidity pool on a DEX, being able to stake your Bitcoin, being able to yield farm with your Dogecoin. Guys, Cardano makes this possible. And between Bitcoin and Dogecoin, well, Bitcoin itself, the higher market cap than Ethereum and Solana combined. And Cardano makes it possible for all of that liquidity to potentially be exposed to DeFi. Now, keep in mind, the Bitcoin maximalists are never going to use this, right? Like, I want to be fair. Like, the Bitcoin maxis are not going to use this. And people don't want to really touch their people hold their Bitcoin because it's digital gold and they don't really want to use it for DeFi. I don't imagine that the vast majority of Bitcoin in circulation is going to be, freaking running through Cardano DeFi. That's not what I'm saying. But if 5% of it, like makes a splash, if 5% of the Bitcoin market cap makes a splash in Cardano DeFi from now to 2030, guys, that's significant. This is big stuff, and Cardano is paving the way for the future. So, among other things, the future is interoperable. It's not as much of a Cardano guy as I am. The future is interoperable. It's not just Cardano, but Cardano has, staked its tent into the ground and it's stretching its tent out, and like it's a tent that I'm happy to be in. So, fundamental observation by Bottle Logic Brewing in Anaheim, California. Solid. I mean, it's Bottle Logic nerds are used to it now. It's like it's a flagship. Like they make a ton of it every August. It's not that hard to get your hands on. You've got to either go to Bottle Logic or look at the right place. But at one of their distributors, but it's not as hard to get your hands on as like a lot of other things they make. I'm gonna give it a 8.2. Right on.
Right on. Smash that like, guys. Thumbs up. Smash that like. Get it to double digits. Hit that bell to subscribe. Thank you for joining us. The Brew Crew coming at you Thursday night. Thank you.
The most hydrated crypto hodlers on YouTube.